on one of our top stories, the Prime Minister has defended the government's decision to grant hundreds of new oil and gas licenses off the coast of Scotland, saying it's entirely consistent with the government's net zero goals. Emma Desarum from Just Stop Oil joins me now. Thank you for coming in. Now, your campaign is all about stopping oil and gas and coal licenses. Now the government is going to issue at least 100 from this autumn. So your campaign has failed, in effect.
Well, thank you for having me on today. I mean, the news is just, it's a betrayal, really, isn't it? Of the younger generations, of those least responsible for the climate crisis. I mean, it's not news. I mean, we had signals that the government were going to be issuing these new licenses back in October. But it's just lies. And I think, you know, the British public today should just be absolutely outraged by this criminal government. And I think it's just more and more evidence that Rishi Sunak is a climate criminal.
But they say it is within their net zero plans. They've allowed for this in their net zero plans.
I mean, it's just a lie, isn't it? I mean, we've got the most credible scientific authorities, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations Secretary last week saying that the world is not warming, it is boiling. And any idea that, you know, new oil and gas is compatible with net zero is just a lie. Like, we are being lied to, and it's not the first time we've been lied to. And I think this is why Just Stop Oil are demanding no new oil and gas. Like, look at what's happening. Like, look out the window. Yeah. You know, Southern Europe's on fire. New York, orange and smoke. Like, have we forgotten that?
Yeah, but no one's denying, or very few are denying, that man-made climate change exists. This is about how you keep your country, industry, economy going. And those experts and much scientific opinion do accept that fossil fuel is part of the mix going forward. Somewhere between 20-25% is the prediction. Even at net zero, that is reached at 20, if that's reached in 2050. 15 to 25 is the sort of prediction of what will be needed when it comes to fossil fuel. It is very much part of the mix. Do you accept that it's a part of the mix at all?
I mean, the thing is with this announcement, right, 100 new licenses. So the Climate Change Committee, which advises the government on, you know, climate change and how to actually do something about this, they said that it's going to take 28 years from those exploration licenses to the production of oil and gas. So this has actually got nothing to do with energy security. The thing that we need to be doing is renewables, which at the last time there was an auction, it was shown that they were 9 times cheaper than fossil fuels. It's going to take 28 years for these new licenses to come into effect. So it's got nothing to do with energy security.
But the Committee on Climate Change report this year, which is, you know, an independent committee, is talking about Vladimir Putin's aggression in Europe and says the energy crisis has provides a new impetus to accelerate the transition away, which you would agree with. During the transition, the UK must nevertheless continue to be able to access oil and gas to ensure that the country can continue to heat its homes, fuel its transport, and generate a declining proportion of power. In theory, the UK's domestic carbon budgets and nationally determined contribution targets could still be met if some new UK fields were licensed and developed. I mean, that's the independent report this year.
I think we're focusing on the wrong thing. We need to be focusing on a mass transition to renewables. This is life or death. Like, I'm 22. By the time by 2050, by the time I'm 50, there's going to be over 1.2 billion people who are unable to live where they are currently are because of climate change, because it's going to be uninhabitable. Like, people are leaving their homes right now. People are losing everything they love because of fossil fuels. And the announcement today is an absolute betrayal of my generation, of everyone who is least responsible for this. And I would encourage everyone watching this, everyone who cares, everyone who feels betrayed, to join us, juststopoil.org, and join us to demand a transition.
But the perspective here is that the UK is decarbonising quicker than other G7 countries, has some of the largest offshore wind farms. And key here is that the UK is responsible for less than 1% of global emissions.
Because we export a lot of our emissions. Look, there are hundreds, thousands of authorities who are saying no new oil and gas, okay? The people and the institutions who agree that no new oil and gas is incompatible with a safe climate, the International Energy Agency, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations Secretary, the British Medical Association, Oxfam, the Quaker. I could go on. There are
I've got your list. I've got your list. But why not? I mean, why not protest in China or protest outside the Chinese embassy about fossil fuels? Their coal production is going up 3.2 billion tons in 2022, more in 2023. Predicted to be 3.9 billion tons. So if you want to go and protest about fossil fuels, protest against the Chinese.
But I'm not in China. I'm a resident in this country, and that's why I'm protesting about our government not doing enough. We are one of the most responsible historically the most responsible for the climate crisis, and that is why I'm using my rights, as much as they're being eroded away right now, using my rights in this country to protest against this government, against new fossil fuels.
Okay, Emma, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
You are watching the News Hour. Coming up, we will have